I'm Rantasmo, and Mean Girls is too gay to function. Mean Girls is 10 years old and you are slowly turning to dust. Look, I could sit here and say something about how Mean Girls was an insightful look into the harrowing experience of being a girl in high school. But seeing as I've never been a girl in high school, I can't really speak to its accuracy in that respect. I never really had any plastics at my school that I noticed, and if anyone like them was there, they certainly didn't dominate my life as much as the characters in this movie. I could also, as others have done, try to draw a parallel between the world of high school girls and the ostensibly catty, gossipy subculture of gay men. But honestly, that's not really reflective of my experience either. It certainly might be the case for others, especially in more urban areas with a larger gay population, but it's not for me. My gay friends are much less likely to steal each other's boyfriends than they are to steal each other's fries. I could also talk about the allegory of an outsider trying so hard to fit in that she ends up losing her own identity, and how that parallels the closet and the performance of stereotypical gender roles for the sake of social acceptance. But whether or not Mean Girls is an accurate depiction or a satire of high school or an analog of the gay experience, I don't think that's why it's so memorable for so many people. It's just real funny.
Boo, you whore.
Not just funny, but quotable. The humor comes almost exclusively from the dialogue, and it's mostly delivered in one-liners that are easy to fit on GIFs. This is also why there are roughly 50 bajillion parodies of the trailer on YouTube, about a third of which are performed by gay men.
That's Fetchin' Wieners. He's totally rich because his dad invented Grindr.
The story of Mean Girls is a simple one. Lindsay Lohan is the new girl in school who infiltrates a group of popular girls, aka the Plastics, and in the process of enacting her revenge upon them ends up becoming everything she hates, only to ultimately redeem herself and ruin a perfectly good tiara. It's a very funny, very well-written movie, and it's also a very woman-centric movie. I think its massive gay fanbase at least partially stems from that. One of the many perks of being a gay man is that liking feminine stuff is much less of a social taboo. And I know I'm generalizing here, but I think that gay guys just have a unique appreciation for a good ditzy one-liner.
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
On top of the clever dialogue are the unforgettable characters. Even if they aren't realistic, which they often aren't, the characters still feel real. They make sense within the logic of the world, and you get the sense they have their own lives and interests outside of just conveying this particular narrative.
I've been really busy with choir.
All of the characters are likable. Even though the movie's about mean girls, the Plastics are mean in a weirdly likable way. Kinda like drag queens. Obviously, I want to talk a bit about our token gay Damien. Damien is a bit of a stereotype, there's no getting around it. He wears pink, he's interested in hair and fashion, he's in choir and the student activity committee, and who knows what other extra gay-liculars. It's not quite as extreme a caricature as, say, Hollywood Montrose, and he's also unlike Hollywood in that he's not the most interesting character in the movie. In fact, he's virtually unnecessary in terms of the plot. He basically occupies the same space as Lizzie Kaplan's character. So much so that they could have basically merged the two of them together without losing anything story-wise. He is definitely likable and has agency and gets some of the best lines in the movie.
Hey, get out of here!
Oh my god, Danny DeVito, I love your work! Fall for you, Glen Coco. You go, Glen Coco.
He is fun to watch, he's just not quite as central to the conflict as Janice or the Plastics themselves. It is worth noting that Daniel Franzese, the actor who played Damien, just recently came out publicly. As for Aaron Samuels, I can neither confirm nor deny that he may or may not have dated Kyle XY. The main character, Katie, is something of a cipher. She is the audience's point of view, and as a result, she feels a tad empty. You could blame some of that on Lindsay Lohan's performance, though this is, and I think sadly always will be, the high point of her acting career. I know, I miss her too. She does have depth and a personality and character traits and all that good stuff, but I don't know anyone whose favorite character is Katie, and that's not exactly unusual for a POV character. But it is kind of interesting how Mean Girls portrays casual homophobia through Katie and her friends, and how it's often not so much a manifestation of deep-seated hatred so much as a thoughtless way of trying to fit into social situations. The first people Katie befriends are queer, or at least perceived as queer. But when she tries to fit in with the popular kids, some casual homophobia creeps into her speech.
I mean, she's totally failing me on purpose because I didn't join those stupid mathletes. She was so queer.
That right there is the adolescence I remember. The one where coming out seemed impossible because the language everyone used was so casually hostile, even if it wasn't outright hateful. But in the end, Mean Girl's message is an undeniably positive one, even if it's one we've heard many times before. Be yourself. Unless you're mean, then be someone else.